What's going on, faithful? Welcome back to the channel. Today, we're going to be talking about something that has me very fired up, and that's the potential for the San Francisco 49er offense headed into the 2026 NFL season. Let's get it. Welcome to the Cayman's Island podcast, where we talk all things San Francisco 49ers. I'm your host, David Cayman. I truly believe this offense has the potential to explode in the upcoming 2026 NFL season. Now, I know a lot of people are sleeping on this group because of what happened last year, the injuries, the inconsistency, the lack of explosiveness at wide receiver, really the lack of team speed overall. But when you really look at what this team accomplished, despite everything that they dealt with, this offense was actually a lot better than people realize. And now, with the additions they've made, with players getting healthy, and with more speed and firepower added to this roster, I genuinely believe a return to 2023 form is coming, with the potential to even be better than 2023. Now, before we get into projections, really what I think is going to happen in the upcoming season offensively, let's take a quick look back at the numbers from last season. And this is with injuries all over the field. The 49ers offense still finished with 5,974 total yards of offense, 4,318 passing yards, 1,817 rushing yards, 49 total touchdowns. That's around 25 points per game. This is despite all the injuries, without consistent wide receiver health, without a true dominant number one threat on the outside. And let's be honest, this is also with a rushing attack that was not as potent as it's been in years past. And despite all of that, the offense still moved the ball. And that's a lot to take in. And let's just take a look at the offensive leaders from last year. I really want to start and focus on Brock Purdy. This dude continuously gets disrespected nationally. I don't know if it's his draft position. I don't know if it's because there's such a either you're super high on Brock or you're super low on Brock and there's nothing in the middle. I'm really not quite certain where it comes from. This guy has accomplished more than some of your quote unquote top 5 quarterbacks that you try to argue as to why Brock is not way up there. I'm more realistic on Brock. And what I mean by that is I really do like Brock. I like Brock, the person, the guy, the face of the franchise for the 49ers. I'm pro Brock. But at the same time, I recognize that he doesn't have the most strongest of arms. He's not the biggest guy, tallest guy, but what he is a great processor. And he really knows how to run that offense. And I recognize also that Brock missed a significant amount of time again due to injury. I think we would all agree we need to see Brock play all 17 regular season games and into the playoffs. We need a full season from Brock. There is a bit of hero ball that Brock likes to play sometimes. The guy is a gunslinger. And every once in a while, he makes this crazy Brett Favre-esque throw that makes no sense and leads to a pick. No quarterback is perfect. We could sit up here and break down tape of areas where the best of the best make mistakes. Okay. But I really don't understand all the hate on Brock. I know he's paid very handsomely for what he does. $53 million a season. I believe that makes him the 7th highest paid quarterback in football. I understand when you make that type of money, you're going to be held to a certain standard. And I agree that he should. But by no stretch of the imagination is this guy a bad quarterback. Matter of fact, I believe he's a very much above average quarterback and absolutely has elite potential. And it's going to start with the help that he has on the field and the supporting cast around him. And now you add Mike Evans to this offense. You bring in a Christian Kirk. You already have two guys that didn't contribute much last season in Jacob Cowing, Jordan Watkins. Ricky Pearsall has a whole lot to prove. Okay, Ricky has to stay on the field, stay healthy himself. Okay, so I believe just with the fact that week one, all the firepower coming in and being healthy, the ceiling just got raised dramatically already as compared to last season. Let's take a look at Christian McCaffrey. Even battling stack boxes a lot of the times due to that lack of speed, he still rushed for over 1,200 yards, led the team in total scrimmage production, 924 receiving yards. That's still elite production. But what excites me this year is that he may not have to carry the entire offense all by himself like it appeared that he did at times last year. So I know that in week 17 last year, Jordan James looked really good in the limited action that he had. And we're going to be bringing in guys like Kalon Black that's going to be in the building, in the room, and hopefully we'll get some reps there as well. I think there's going to be a big time focus on not running McCaffrey into the ground so much. He has said it himself. The front office has alluded to it. I'm looking forward to it. And with those guys, if you can introduce these young legs out here and get quality rotational carries from these two guys, that's going to keep Christian McCaffrey fresher. That keeps the offense more explosive, especially late in games. You want to be able to grind down a team, and it gives this team more balance overall. And we all know, and if you've had eyeballs since the Kyle Shanahan, John Lynch regime has been present, when this 49ers run game gets going and it gets rolling, this offense becomes almost impossible to defend. Now let's take a look at this effect. I call it the Mike Evans effect. Okay? The 49ers have finally added a true alpha receiver. Okay? A future Hall of Famer, a red zone nightmare, a consistent, what I would call catch monster. Man has over 13,000 receiving yards, 108 career touchdowns. We all know about the 11 straight 1,000-yard seasons before 2025. This offense has not had a player with this type of size and full catch radius in a long time. And think about that, what that means for Brock Purdy. Now, when defenses stack the middle of the field, he can punish them vertically outside the numbers. And that changes everything. It really does. A lot of folks bag on Brock just because of the fact that he doesn't have the strongest arm in the world. And I understand that. But we've seen Brock be able to push the ball down the field when someone creates some separation and gets open. Let's talk about the De'Zhaun Stribling and the fact that he could be a big-time sleeper. And say what you want about the pick, where he was selected. There's been a lot of talk about that. And it makes me smile in a sense because it just goes to show you how many 49er fans there are out there, man. It's the 49ers dominate the headlines no matter what's going on. We really do. And I really feel it comes the whole draft, the heat that the 49ers take with the scrutiny that they come over every single move. For example, Mike Evans. When you look at it on the surface, if Mike Evans stays healthy, he's a perfect match for this offense. He truly is. But you get a lot of heat because of the 49ers has been plagued with injuries and the fact that the man is going to be old entering the season. I believe he's going to be 33 years old. And that makes a lot of sense. But if a team like the Kansas City Chiefs, the Eagles, man, if the Buffalo Bills would have signed Mike Evans, man, folks will be singing that front office praises up and down sideways. I think where all this heat comes from, faithful, and if we could just be honest, if we could just absolutely be truthful, if this franchise won a championship back in 2019 or 2023, we wouldn't care who they drafted. They could have picked David Kamen, number 33 overall, and not one of us would care because we finally have the championship that this franchise has been lacking for over 3 decades. And that's just what it boils down to. That's why the scrutiny, that's why everybody's so up in arms about the draft or going away from consensus picks or where we picked a player. Look, man, they win the Super Bowl this year. Nobody's going to care, point blank period, about anything. And in fact, with the lead in overtime in the Super Bowl against the Chiefs, they win that Super Bowl, you probably forget about the whole Trey Lance thing, right? So you think about De'Zhaun Stribling, his vertical speed, his size, his downfield ball tracking. I still think there's a lot of developmental upside. And in this offense, if Kyle Shanahan can unlock him, that could become a big-time problem for defenses. Now, I know that De'Zhaun doesn't have really, from what I've seen on tape and watched a lot of plays, I've had an opportunity to go back. I'm a Georgia Bulldogs fan. They've been my team forever since I was a child. And I had an opportunity to see what De'Zhaun Stribling did against the Georgia defense for in the regular season as well as that Sugar Bowl game. And so I can see the question mark on his short and intermediate route tree. I understand that completely. He's not expected day one to be Mike Evans, okay? If he can spend some time working and polishing up that, what I would call, to use basketball term, that mid-range game, right? Not your layup at the line of scrimmage, right? On a swing pass or your deep vertical. If you can get work on his intermediate game throughout the offseason and he improves in that area, he can really help unlock this offense. I think Ricky Pearsall is very important. And the reason I am excited about Ricky is because he has everything to play for. Ricky Pearsall has got to get out here and show something. This is a big year, not just in a 49ers uniform. I'm talking about career longevity going forward is going to ride on this season. And he's got a lot to prove. And I think he wants to prove himself and get out here. Okay, I do. And if Ricky takes that next step, because we saw flashes of it at the beginning of last season. If you had eyeballs and you watched the 49ers at the beginning of the season, Ricky showed flashes. You get him going, and you have Mike Evans, Christian McCaffrey out in the backfield. We haven't even said George Kittle's name. What about guys like Jacob Cowing, that again has everything to play for, that didn't even get out there at all last year due to his constant hamstring injuries? You look at a guy like Jordan Watkins that got very limited reps last year. These guys have every single thing to play for. When you name all those players, I haven't even said Christian Kirk's name in this episode yet. Can you imagine like lining up in 5 wides with all of that? You got George Kittle, Christian McCaffrey, De'Zhaun Stribling, Ricky Pearsall, Mike Evans, and then you have to account for the legs of Brock Purdy. Now, I'm not saying that the 49ers should all of a sudden line up in 5 wides every play and be a down-the-field vertical offense. I'm just saying, look how well the offense has performed, really regardless of who was at quarterback, whether it was Mac Jones, he had success, whether it was Brock Purdy. And you add these type of weapons on the offense, I know that the offensive line has some question marks, especially at left guard. Who's going to step in that, etc. There's also been really a lot of heat on Brock about some of his questionable picks last year and the fact that he's been holding the ball more and more every single season. And there's an uptick in that. I believe this has something to do with it too. How about guys can't get open? How about guys can't create separation? And I do agree at times my man Brock really hunts, like the predator hunts the big play when there's a check down right there in his grill underneath. I don't want Brock to change who he is. I really don't. I want the same Brock Purdy from last year. Okay. Without at times playing hero ball, because we see it. We've seen it. I've seen it with my own eyes. There's every once in a while he has an occasion to get into that. I think that's just a quarterback thing. I think all quarterbacks think they can sometimes do more than they can, and they try, and that's why even the best of the best have bad games or bad interception games, etc. But I really feel like I want the same Brock. I still want that same gunslinger mentality, just situationally aware for him to know he doesn't have to play hero ball all the time and he can take the check down. But going back to the whole holding the ball thing, I don't think he's going to have to hold the ball that much. And the reason being is because he's going to have multiple guys open to be able to get the rock to. I think it's very interesting what just happened recently with Jauan Jennings. Folks want to say, I actually heard some content out there saying that Brock was surrounded with weapons last year. If Brock was surrounded with weapons last year, then why did it take so long for his best weapon, Jauan Jennings? Now, I'm not coming down on Jauan, but he is not a super fast guy as far as NFL standards. I think he runs like a 4.7, 4.8, something like that. And he's a big possession receiver. He is not a burner. He plays hard. He blocks well. He's a 49er. He has those traits for sure. But guys, the 49ers had the league's worst separation last year. They're not going to have that problem this year. They're absolutely not. I would love to see stacked boxes against a wide receiver group that's going to be on the field at the start of the 2026 NFL season. If you're going to match up one-on-one with a healthy Mike Evans, good luck. It's going to get ugly really fast. I really feel like this offense has the ability to be just as good as the 2023 season. Let's get into projections. Okay, now I'm not saying automatically that day one, this is going to be the greatest show on turf 2.0. Okay, but realistically, if this team stays healthy, I genuinely believe 28 to 31 points per game, guaranteed top 5 in total offense, top 5 in total pass offense, top 10 in rushing offense. And I want to hone in on Brock Purdy real quick. I could see Brock Purdy having 4,500 yards passing, 35 to 40 touchdowns. That's absolutely on the table if he plays a full 17-game regular season. Look what he was able to do last year. The man had 2 games back-to-back with 5+ touchdowns. Okay? If any other quarterback that wasn't drafted last, if he wasn't Mr. Irrelevant, you'd be holding that man up for MVP. I recognize that he missed too many games to even be considered, but he goes and does something like that, and it's every excuse in the world why, oh, he did that against the Colts, or he did that against the Bears. It's, man, come on. It's not easy throwing 5 touchdowns against any team, much less in back-to-back games. I know I've seen a bunch of content out there hating on Brock, saying, okay, so having all these weapons, adding a Mike Evans, the 49ers' first pick in the draft at 33 overall is a big, fast wide receiver. This is going to put extra pressure on his shoulders and everything's on Brock. Let me tell you why I could not agree more. Okay. So a couple of reasons why I feel like Brock is more secure in himself than ever. Okay. Number one, the man's got his bag. He'd go out there and play terrible. That check is cash. That money is in the bank. He's already gotten paid. Okay. That's gone. Number two, let's talk about pressure. Okay. If my memory serves me correctly, Brock Purdy has played in a Super Bowl against probably the greatest talent of our generation, had his team a lead in overtime in a Super Bowl, drove down the field, got his team a lead. Yes, would have loved to see Brock punch it in, get a touchdown there. The Chiefs admitted they were going to go for 2 anyway. If we would have scored there in that situation, they would have just probably went down the field, scored, and we would have lost probably in heartbreaking fashion on a 2-point conversion. That's just the life of being a 49er fan. But I'm pretty sure that there's not much more pressure than leading your team down the field in overtime in a Super Bowl for a lead. So I don't think that there's any pressure. This guy is now a veteran quarterback that knows how to play the position. And I'm really looking forward to what this offense could look like if we are above average healthy. I really feel like this can be a 30 plus points per game offense because that's a lot to deal with for a defense. Now, I know the counter argument's going to be, oh, the Rams, oh, the Seahawks. Man, spoiler alert, guys, they were in our division last year, okay? And I want to remind everybody, statistically, it was the greatest, individual season of any division ever, with 3 teams with 12 plus wins. The reigning Super Bowl champion Seahawks are also in this division. So by no stretch of the imagination am I saying it's going to be a cakewalk and it's not going to be a bit more difficult than last year. I'm just saying that they are going to have a lot of weapons for Brock when they hit the field this year. And I just think about how effective they were last year with all the injuries. You give these new toys to Kyle Shanahan, I'm excited to see what we can do. So, faithful, my final take. This offense has a chance to be special again, not just solid, not just good, special. Because there's now more firepower. There's more speed. There's more size. Should be some more balance. And honestly, this roster feels more closer to 2023 than I think a lot of the faithful realize. And if this offensive line holds up, the NFL better be ready. But let me know what you think in the comments. Are the 49ers about to have a top 5 offense again? What player are you most excited to watch this season? And what are your expectations for my man, Brock Purdy, in 2026? As always, faithful, thanks for watching. Please be sure to like, subscribe, turn on those notifications for more 49ers content all year long. And as always, take care, be blessed, and go Niners.